What are some of the success stories that can encourage and inspire us in this area?
I don't think we can point to an education system somewhere that's doing amazingly well, that everything's going exactly as it should. But the story of New Zealand's journey into student-centered learning, inquiry-based learning, we're a little bit behind other countries. And so France went there in the 1990s with their curriculum, and about 15 years after that, did a U-turn. The UK did a U-turn over 10 years ago. So other countries have gone down the same track and then discovered, because the research shows that the more content-rich your curriculum, it corresponds with better student outcomes, which isn't a shock. So they've noticed that, they've changed their curriculum. I've seen teachers praising the Australian curriculum. They've gone to a more content-rich model. And our curriculum is under review, and now there's a new government in charge of the review of that. So it is going to look different. We don't know how different it's going to look, but if we follow the good international trends, it will change quite a lot.
Okay. Melissa, tell me about what you're seeing, and what, I guess, where you can think, well, there's a glimmer of hope here. What is encouraging you? What gets you out of bed in the morning?
What gets me out of bed? That's a good
Apart
question.
from your kids.
I mean, as I keep saying, there are a lot of schools and teachers and children who are doing very well. And I think that we need to put some caveats around some of the, emphasis that we're placing on changing the education system will solve everything. Because, of course, like I mentioned with the PPP epidemic, there are other factors in the mix as well. I really enjoy working with families because, as Tim mentioned at the start of this conversation, families are often the forgotten player in the mix. But a lot of families really want to support their children's education and learning. And I think that building schools where they have really strong partnerships with families, the children, if the home and school life, if you like, are on the same page, then everything comes together nicely for children. So I'd love to, I've seen really good examples of families engaging with school and vice versa. And I think that the more that we turn to families as part of the solution rather than always as part of the problem, notwithstanding the epidemic, we may get some really good change coming through.
So how do you connect families to schools?
I think a lot of that comes down to leadership. I think that's actually something we possibly haven't really mentioned here this evening, around good leadership in schools and the huge difference that can make. I know schools where leadership has taken a real focus on engaging families, providing small events, opportunities for families to come in during school time and see what happens during a maths lesson, what happens during reading. This is what your child's been doing during the day at school, and enabling those conversations at home with children about what's happening, just creating a little bit more transparency. So many parents say to me, I actually don't know what my child does from 9 till 3, and actually the vast majority say that. So I think there's a real opportunity there to open those conversations up. I also think that families need to be encouraged to know the difference they can make in their child's learning. A lot of families that I've worked with, and it's well into the hundreds now, have said to me, I'm not a teacher, what can I do? Or, alarmingly, that's not my job. So, PPP. So, I think that we can put out some really cool things. I'd love to see some of them come through the ministry, encouraging families and showing what small things they can do in the home environment to make a real difference to their children's learning.
Steph, I'm not a teacher. What can I do? I'm a parent. What can I do for my kids? Or should I punt it back to Melissa?
I'm not sure that this is the greatest answer, but it's just what comes to mind straight away when you say that, which is sort of where I was going to veer. Anyway, inspiring curiosity. I think that's really something, asking questions, reading books, wondering about the world, I think that's really what comes to mind. I might try and just weave in what I wanted to say to that question. The thing that comes along, I think, with talking about having a more sort of knowledge-based approach to teaching is that the real joy in teaching for me, I think, is that kind of that spark. And it's funny, it used to be talked about quite a lot, and I don't really hear it talked about anymore, is when kids really actually connect with something, when they learn something they didn't know before, it's so exciting for them. And that teachers can give that to them, but parents can give it to them as well, you know? Those moments of like, wow, I didn't know about that, wow, I didn't know that before. And that's the thing that actually as a teacher really like fills you up. And I think that's something that we could really go back to, and our kids would really benefit from that across the board, and everyone being involved in doing that. I suppose the sort of community approach to that. Everyone can do that. Everyone can contribute that to a kid's world, right? So just inspiring that curiosity.
And a crucial thing, ensuring children actually go to school. Attendance.
Where are you at? And let's we're going to broaden out now and hit the